Okay, picture this. You're driving along, maybe it hits you, an unexpected snow flurry, perhaps, or you've slipped onto some slick mud, or even soft sand.
Happens to the best of us.
Right. And suddenly your wheels are just spinning, you're stuck. What's your first, gut reaction?
Floor it.
Exactly. Floor it. Push that pedal down, hope for, I don't know, a miracle burst of power to get you out. We've all felt that little surge of panic, right?
Absolutely.
But what if that instinct, that need for brute force is actually one of the absolute worst things you could possibly do to your automatic transmission?
It often is, unfortunately.
So today we're doing a deep dive into these surprisingly common, really common, but potentially incredibly costly mistakes lots of us make with our automatic cars.
Yeah, and they're not just little oopsies.
No. According to the data we've looked at, they're like silent destroyers. Just, steadily chipping away at your transmission's life, lining you up for a repair bill that's, well, thousands.
It really is amazing, isn't it? How these seemingly harmless habits, things you do every day, can lead to some pretty significant mechanical stress, serious wear and tear. So our mission today in this deep dive is really to unpack these critical mistakes, explain the why behind the damage, like what's actually happening inside the transmission,
Right.
and hopefully equip you with some practical knowledge, how to protect your automatic transmission. We'll dig into the specifics for the sources, connect the dots to, the bigger picture of keeping your car running longer and, frankly, saving you money.
So let's get ready. We might uncover some surprising stuff, maybe bust a few myths you've heard about the car you're driving right now. Okay, let's unpack this.
Let's do it.
So back to that horrible stuck scenario, wheels spinning. And like we said, the first thought is nearly always more gas. But you're saying that's a nightmare for the transmission. How else do you get out? That's my first thought.
It's a totally natural reaction. But the key thing to understand here is the immediate and pretty brutal impact of doing that. When your wheels are spinning freely like that, they aren't getting you anywhere, traction-wise. But what they are doing is generating a massive amount of sudden friction and heat right inside your transmission.
Heat? Like, how much heat are we talking?
Think of it like a tiny, super high-speed furnace starting up in there. This heat isn't just warming things up gently. It can literally cook your transmission fluid.
Cook it? Seriously?
Yeah, degrade its lubricating properties, turn it from this vital protective fluid into something, well, much less effective. And that fluid, that's the lifeblood, right? Protects critical seals, the clutch packs inside.
Okay, so the heat's bad, but I've also heard about the shock, the impact. What happens when those spinning wheels do suddenly grab hold? Just for a second.
Exactly, that's the second punch. Equally damaging. When those wheels suddenly find grip, bam! It sends this violent shockwave blasting through the entire drivetrain.
Ouch.
Yeah, imagine all those precise components inside the little planetary gears, the bands, the torque converter clutch suddenly getting slammed with this huge uncontrolled force.
Like getting punched.
Kind of, yeah. It's like your transmission's getting repeatedly hammered and twisted. These parts are built with precision. They hate sudden massive impacts. You can bend shafts, break gear teeth, wreck those clutch pads.
Okay. Message received. Brute force is out. No flooring it, no crazy violent lurching. So what's the finesse approach? The pro move, as the sources called it, to get unstuck without basically inviting a massive repair bill.
Right. The sources really emphasize being calm and incredibly gentle. The goal isn't raw power. It's about finding just enough traction, incrementally.
Gently. How gently?
Apply the throttle very gently, just enough so the wheels barely start to turn. If you need to rock the vehicle, shift smoothly between drive and reverse. But, and this is crucial, stop the shift just before the wheels start spinning again in the other direction.
So a gentle rocking, not a slam back and forth.
Exactly. You want a subtle rocking motion, not that jerky, violent shifting that stresses everything out. And for extra grip, use your floor mats if you have to.
Floor mats.
Yeah, or sand, gravel, even kitty litter under the drive wheels. It can make a huge difference.
Yeah.
Also, check if your car has a snow mode or a button to turn off traction control temporarily. Sometimes letting the wheels spin just a tiny bit helps in certain conditions. That little bit of patience, that gentle touch, our data shows it can genuinely save you from that multi-$1,000 repair. It's the difference between being stuck for a few minutes and needing a tow truck and a new transmission.
That is a fantastic insight. Okay, so if aggressive driving is one silent killer, another one, maybe even sneakier, is lurking right under the hood. your transmission fluid.
Yes, through fluid.
We've all heard lifetime fluid, right? Sounds great, set it and forget it, but you're saying that's basically a myth. My owner's manual might even say lifetime, so it must be true.
Well, that's a classic point of confusion, is where what manufacturers say and what mechanics see in the real world sometimes don't quite line up. When some manufacturers label it lifetime, they might mean the expected service life of the transmission itself under absolutely perfect ideal conditions, which might be, say, 100,000 miles, or just the length of the warranty period.
Not my lifetime with the car.
Exactly. If you want your car to last much longer than that, that lifetime fluid definitely needs changing. The data is pretty clear. For real longevity, regular fluid changes are non-negotiable.
Okay, so what's the rule of thumb then?
Generally, every 50,000 to 60,000 miles is a good target. But, and this is important, always check your owner's manual. It'll give the specific recommendation for your vehicle and your driving style. If you tow things or drive hard, you'll need to change it more often.
That makes sense. Okay, so how can we, the average driver, tell if the fluid needs changing without running to the mechanic constantly? Are there warning signs?
Absolutely.
Yep.
Healthy, happy transmission fluid should be a bright, sort of translucent red color. It shouldn't really smell like much, maybe faintly sweet. And it should feel slippery, not gritty.
How do you check it?
Usually there's a dipstick, similar to the oil dipstick. You typically check it with the engine warm and running and the car in park. If you pull that dipstick and the fluid looks brown or black or muddy, or if it has a distinct burnt toast smell.
Burnt toast?
Yeah, there's a pretty common description. If you see or smell that, you're already overdue for a change.
And why does that matter so much?
Because inside that transmission, you've got gears, clutch packs spinning incredibly fast, creating tons of friction and heat. The fluid does two jobs, lubricates everything and cools it down. When that fluid breaks down, it can't do its job properly.
Yeah.
Lubrication fails, heat skyrockets, and that leads straight to permanent damage.
Got it.
All lubricants degrade eventually.
Right.
Automatic transmission fluid, or ATF, is no different. It's a simple maintenance task, relatively cheap, that prevents catastrophic, potentially 5-figure failures. It's just good stuff.
Okay, speaking of fluid, can I just, run to the auto parts store and grab any bottle of ATF? They kind of all look the same, red fluid in a bottle. And those universal ones seem convenient. What's the deal there?
That's another critical point, because the sources are really clear on this. ATF isn't just generic oil. It's a highly engineered chemical cocktail, specifically designed for your transmission's unique needs.
Unique needs. How different can they be?
Very different. Think about the different types of automatics. Traditional ones with torque converters, CVTs with their belts and pulleys, those fancy dual clutch ones like DCT or DSG. They all operate differently and need fluids with very specific properties.
Like what?
Things like viscosity, how thick or thin it is, friction coefficients, how slippery it is, which is vital for the clutch packs engaging smoothly, and specific additives for heat resistance. Using a fluid that doesn't meet your manufacturer's exact spec, like say a Gextron 6 for GM or Mercon 5 for Ford or ATF Plus 4 for Chrysler Dodge, or a specific CDT fluid like NS3 for Nissan. Using the wrong one is just asking for trouble.
So those universal fluids I see everywhere, are they more like compromise fluids? What's the actual risk if I use one because maybe my specific type isn't on the shelf?
Exactly. Compromise is a good word. Even those universal or multi-vehicle fluids can be a real gamble. The biggest risk is premature wear.
Ow.
The friction modifiers in the fluid are absolutely critical. They control how the clutch packs engage. If the fluid is too slippery, the clutches can slip and burn out. If it's not slippery enough, they can grab too harshly, causing jerky shifts and wear.
Okay.
The sources really hammer this home. When it's time for a fluid change, or even just a top off, you must check the owner's manual or talk to a trusted mechanic. Find out the exact ATF your car needs. Don't guess. Don't cheap out. It's basically the cheapest insurance policy you can buy for your transmission. Saving a few bucks on the wrong fluid now could easily cost you thousands later.
Makes perfect sense. Okay, let's shift gears, pardon the pun. Let's talk driving habits. Stuff we might not even realize is causing harm. We've all seen it, maybe done it, riding the brakes all the way down a long, steep hill. Feels like the safe thing to do, control your speed. But you're saying that's not just bad for the brakes, right? What's the hidden transmission danger?
Yeah, it's easy to forget how linked these systems are. Sure, constantly riding the brakes will definitely overheat your pads and rotors, wear them out faster. That's a problem itself.
Right.
But the sources also point out the extra stress it puts on your transmission. When you're braking constantly like that, the transmission's computer gets confused. It might start hunting for the right gear.
Yeah.
Shifting up and down unnecessarily.
Balancing.
Yeah, trying to figure out the best gear for the speed and load. Or it can cause the torque converter, that fluid coupling we mentioned earlier, to slip more than it should. Both hunting and slipping generate a ton of internal heat. And we know what heat does.
Cools the fluid, damages parts. Got it.
Exactly.
So there's a better way, a more pro technique for going down hills, according to the data, one that saves the brakes in the transmission.
Absolutely. The best technique is mastering engine braking.
Engine braking. How does that work in an automatic?
Instead of just using your foot brake, you use the engine's natural resistance to slow the car. You do this by manually selecting a lower gear. Lots of automatics have options like L for low, or maybe 2 or S for sport mode on the shifter. Or you might have paddle shifters, plus and minus, on the steering wheel.
Okay.
By shifting down 1 or maybe 2 gears, you make the engine spin faster, and its internal compression naturally holds the car back, slowing you down.
Ah, so the engine helps the brakes?
Precisely. It dramatically reduces the work your physical brakes have to do, so they don't overheat or wear out as fast. And, crucially for this conversation, it stops the transmission from generating all that extra heat from gear hunting or torque converter slip. It's a really useful skill, especially if you drive in hilly areas.
Definitely something to practice. Okay, next one. This feels like an old wives' tale, maybe. Shifting into neutral while you're coasting downhill, or even just rolling up to a stop sign. Some people think it saves fuel. Sounds logical, right? Less work for the engine.
Sounds logical, but the sources completely bust that myth.
They do.
Absolutely. This goes back to how modern cars actually work. Any car built in the last couple of decades with electronic fuel injection, when you're in gear and you take your foot completely off the gas pedal,
Yeah.
the engine's computer is smart. It completely cuts the fuel supply to the injectors. The wheels are turning the engine, essentially, and it's using zero fuel. That is engine braking, again.
Wow, okay.
But if you shift into neutral, now the engine isn't connected to the wheels, so it has to use a little bit of fuel just to keep itself idling, to keep running and not stall out.
So staying in gear is actually more fuel efficient when coasting.
Correct. It's usually a tiny amount of fuel saved, but still, coasting in neutral uses more fuel, not less.
Mind blown.
Okay.
And that's not the only reason to avoid it, is it? There are other downsides.
Right. The sources mentioned a few big ones. First, safety. When you're in neutral, you can't accelerate instantly. If something happens, a hazard pops up, and you need to quickly speed up to get out of the way,
Yeah.
you're just rolling. You have to waste precious seconds shifting back into drive. It compromises your control.
Good point.
Second, mechanical wear. Constantly shifting from neutral back into drive puts extra unnecessary stress on the transmission's clutch bands and other internal parts as they re-engage over and over.
Okay.
And finally, like we just talked about, without engine braking helping you slow down, you're relying 100% on your physical brakes. So more wear on pads and rotors. Long story short, just keep it in drive. Your car is designed for it, and its computer handles the fuel much better than that old myth suggests.
Fascinating. Okay, last one. This one might really surprise people because I think almost everyone does it. Just, pulling up, stopping, and slapping the gear shifter straight into P for park, then turning off the car. What's the hidden danger there? What does the data say?
Yeah, this one surprised me too, and I really looked into the mechanics. What's fascinating is understanding the tiny little part doing a massive job. Inside your automatic transmission, there's a small metal pin. It's called a parking pawl.
A parking pawl. Okay.
When you shift into park, that little pawl basically slots into a gear on the transmission's output shaft, physically locking it so the wheels can't turn. It stops the car from rolling.
Right, that's its job.
Yes. But the sources are really clear. That tiny pin was never designed to hold the entire weight of your vehicle, especially if you're parked on any kind of slope, even a slight one.
Really? It seems pretty strong.
Think of it like trying to hold back a really heavy weight with just one small tooth on a gear. Relying solely on that pawl puts immense stress on the pawl itself and also on the transmission mounts that hold everything in place.
And that leads to?
Over time, it can lead to wear, the pawl could bend, or even break.
Yeah.
And the worst case scenario, if that pawl fails, your car could just roll away unexpectedly.
Wow. Okay, that is a sobering thought. So there's a proper sequence, a correct way to park to protect this little pawl and, prevent my car from rolling down the hill into my neighbor's prize-winning petunias. Because I'm definitely guilty of the slap it into P method.
Absolutely there is. And it's actually a really simple habit to get into once you know it. The sources lay out a specific sequence, especially important on any kind of incline.
Okay, walk me through it.
First, come to a complete stop. Keep your foot firmly on the brake pedal. Don't release it yet.
Okay, foot on brake.
Second, shift the gear lever into neutral. Not park yet, neutral.
Neutral, got it.
Third, while still holding the foot brake, engage the parking brake firmly. Pull that lever up or push that pedal down hard. You should feel the car kind of settle as the parking brake takes the weight.
Okay, parking brake engaged.
Fourth, and this is the key step, now release your foot from the main brake pedal. Let the car's weight fully rest on the parking brake mechanism, not the transmission.
Let it settle onto the parking brake.
Exactly. Then finally, once the weight is settled, shift the gear lever into park.
So, stop, neutral, parking brake, foot off brake, then park.
That's the sequence. It takes maybe 2 extra seconds, but it completely removes the stress from that little parking pawl. It protects a very expensive component, and, it ties back to that whole idea of simple preventative maintenance and safety.
Wow. Who knew? Seriously, who knew these everyday things? How we get unstuck, what fluid we use, how we go down hills, even how we park could have such, dramatic consequences for our automatic transmission.
Yeah, it's pretty eye-opening.
From that gentle rocking technique to really understanding lifetime fluid isn't forever and always using the right type. And yeah, that parking sequence. It's so clear that just a little bit of knowledge really does go a long way in saving us from potentially huge repair bills.
Absolutely. And we kind of zoom out, connect this to the bigger picture. These aren't just car tips, are they? They're really a reminder that understanding the machines and systems we use every single day can seriously improve how long they last, how well they work, and even our own safety.
That's a great point. It really raises an interesting question, doesn't it? What other seemingly small habits, things we do without thinking in our lives, maybe how we handle our money or manage our health or interact with technology, what else might be silently chipping away at our resources or our well-being without us even realizing it?
That is a truly thought-provoking way to rack things up. Something to definitely chew on. Keep exploring, keep learning, folks, and your car and definitely your wallet will thank you for it. Until next time, stay curious and drive safe.